Imagine you're in a high-stakes hostage situation. The lives of innocent people hang in the balance, and you have just one tool at your disposal: your ability to negotiate. Now, what if I told you that the same techniques used to diffuse life-or-death conflicts could help you get a raise, close a business deal, or even convince your kids to go to bed on time? Welcome to the world of Never Split the Difference by Voss, a former FBI hostage negotiator who reveals game-changing negotiation tactics that will transform the way you communicate. Chapter 1. The New Rules. Voss opens with a shocking Harvard experiment where he outmaneuvered the best negotiation professors using FBI techniques. The key takeaway? Negotiation isn't about logic, it's about emotions. Traditional negotiation strategies assume people act rationally, but Voss proves that people are driven by fear, desire, and deeply ingrained biases. Voss had spent decades negotiating high-stakes hostage situations where failure meant lives lost. When he arrived to Harvard for a negotiation course, he expected to learn from the best. Instead, he found that their methods, rooted in logic and compromise, failed against the unpredictable nature of human psychology. During a mock negotiation, he was challenged by top Harvard professors acting as kidnappers. They demanded a ransom, expecting him to counter with logic-based solutions. But instead of arguing or counter-offering, Voss simply asked, "How am I supposed to do that?" This single question changed the entire dynamic. The professors, expecting a rational counteroffer, were instead put in a position where they had to justify their demand. By shifting the pressure back onto them, Voss demonstrated that negotiation is not about who has the best argument, but about who controls the emotional and psychological landscape. The lesson? People are not rational. Negotiation isn't a chess game. It's a psychological battle. Fear, uncertainty, ego, and hidden motivations play a far bigger role than logic. Traditional negotiation theory assumes that people are cooperative and seek mutual benefit. Voss argues that real-life negotiations involve unknowns, emotional triggers, and hidden leverage points. His approach, tactical empathy, focuses on understanding emotions, building trust, and guiding conversations in subtle yet powerful ways. Chapter 2. Beat the Mirror. One of the simplest yet most powerful tools in negotiation is mirroring. This technique involves repeating the last few words, or the most important part, of what your counterpart has just said. It makes them feel heard, builds instant rapport, and encourages them to continue talking. Voss describes mirroring as a psychological tool that subtly encourages the other person to reveal more information. When people feel heard and understood, they naturally lower their defenses and become more cooperative. Mirroring taps into this instinct without them even realizing it. Imagine you're in a salary negotiation. Your boss says, "We just don't have the budget to give raises right now." Instead of countering with an argument, you mirror their words. "You don't have the budget?" The natural human response is to elaborate, providing more insight into the reasoning behind their statement. They might say, "Yeah, this quarter has been tough and upper management has frozen raises." Now, you have new information. You know the decision came from above, and you can adjust your approach accordingly. Mirroring works because it encourages the other party to keep talking while making them feel comfortable. It's a strategy often used in hostage negotiations, where building trust quickly is critical. Voss shares an example from a standoff where mirroring helped him extract key information from hostage taker, leading to a peaceful resolution. How to use mirroring effectively. 1. Repeat the last few words or key phrase your counterpart just said. 2. Pause and let the silence do the work. They will instinctively fill in the gaps. 3. Use a calm, neutral tone to make the interaction feel natural. 4. Practice active listening. Focus entirely on their words and body language. Mirroring isn't just about words. It's about creating a psychological connection. By subtly mimicking the other person's language, tone, or pace, you create a sense of familiarity and trust. This makes them more likely to open up, share crucial details, and ultimately agree with you. Chapter 3. Don't feel their pain, label it. Instead of sympathizing or trying to reassure the other person, Voss introduces a counterintuitive tactic, labeling their emotions. This means explicitly identifying and verbalizing what the other party is feeling. For example, if a client is frustrated about pricing, instead of saying, "I understand your frustration," try saying, "It sounds like you're feeling frustrated because the price doesn't align with your expectations." Labeling is powerful because it acknowledges the other person's emotions without arguing or dismissing them. It forces them to pause and reflect, which often results in them calming down and becoming more cooperative. When you correctly label someone's emotions, their brain actually produces oxytocin, the bonding hormone, making them feel safe and connected to you. Voss shares a compelling example of labeling in action. During a hostage situation, a kidnapper was becoming increasingly aggressive, threatening to harm a hostage. Instead of trying to reason with him, Voss labeled his emotions. "It sounds like you feel backed into a corner and don't see a way out." The kidnapper paused, then started to open up about his fears. This shift in the conversation allowed Voss to de-escalate the situation and ultimately resolve it peacefully. Labeling works because it makes the other person feel understood without forcing agreement. It's a simple yet highly effective way to build trust, even in high-stakes situations. How to effectively use labeling. Use phrases like "it sounds like," "it seems like," or "it looks like," instead of saying, "I understand." Let them correct you if you're wrong. It still gets them talking. Combine labeling with a calm tone to reduce tension and build rapport. Observe their body language and tone for emotional cues. Another application of labeling is in business negotiations. If a client is hesitating, you might say, "It seems like you're worried about the risk involved in this deal." This allows them to either confirm or clarify their concerns, providing you with valuable insight. When people feel their emotions are acknowledged, they become more open to discussion. Chapter 4. Master No. Most people believe that getting a yes is the ultimate goal in negotiations. However, Voss challenges this idea and argues that the real power lies in no. Why? Because when people say no, they feel safe, in control, and not pressured. This creates a sense of psychological security, making them more open to further discussion. We are conditioned to believe that yes is a sign of success and no is a rejection. But in reality, forcing a yes too soon can lead to resistance. Think about sales calls where the salesperson aggressively pushes you to say yes. It feels manipulative, and you instinctively want to back away. Instead, Voss suggests inviting a no to lower the other party's defenses. The power of no-oriented questions. One of the best ways to get an honest response is to ask questions that encourage a no answer. This puts the other person at ease because saying no makes them feel in control. For example, instead of asking, "Would you be interested in this offer?" reframe it as, "Would it be ridiculous to consider this offer? Or is now a bad time to discuss this?" The moment the other party says no, they feel like they're making the decision, and paradoxically, they become more willing to engage in the conversation. How to use no to your advantage. Ask no-oriented questions. Instead of "Can we meet tomorrow?" say, "Would it be a bad idea to meet tomorrow?" Encourage no to get honest answers. If someone is hesitant, ask, "Are you ready to give up on this deal?" Use no to restart stalled negotiations. If a client stops responding, send an email saying, "Have you given up on this project?" This often triggers an immediate response. Voss shares an example of an executive struggling to close deals. Instead of repeatedly pushing for a yes, he started using a no-oriented question. "Have you given up on this project?" The response rate shot up instantly, and deals that had been stuck suddenly moved forward. Chapter 5. Trigger the magic words. That's right. The two most powerful words in negotiation are "that's right." When someone says this, it means they feel deeply understood and they are more likely to cooperate with you. This is the moment when they lower their guard and start to align with your perspective. Most people aim for a yes in negotiations, thinking it means progress. However, early yes responses are often false agreements. People say yes just to end the conversation or to avoid confrontation. But when someone says "that's right," it signals genuine alignment. How to get a "that's right" Response: the way to trigger these magic words is by summarizing the other person's concerns and emotions so accurately that they feel completely understood. For example, if a client is hesitant about a deal, instead of pushing them, say, "It sounds like you're worried that this investment might not provide the return you need and that you could be taking on unnecessary risk." When they respond, "That's right, you've won them over emotionally, and they are now more willing to engage." Real-world application. Voss shares a story of an international kidnapping case where a father was refusing to pay ransom. Instead of arguing, Voss summarized his fears. "It sounds like you're worried that paying will only encourage more kidnappings and that you feel powerless in this situation." When the father said, "That's right," he finally felt heard, and the negotiations moved forward. Steps to trigger "that's right." 1. Listen actively and absorb your counterpart concerns. 2. Summarize their perspective in a way that feels deeply accurate. 3. Wait for them to confirm with "that's right." This is the moment they feel truly understood. Why this works? When people feel understood, they stop resisting and start cooperating. It builds trust and lowers psychological barriers. It shifts the negotiation from a debate into a collaborative problem-solving process. Chapter 6. Bend their reality. One of the most powerful tools in negotiation is the ability to reshape the other person's perception of what is fair and possible. Instead of trying to convince someone with logic, Voss suggests subtly bending their reality so that your proposal feels like the best option. Framing the loss to influence decisions. People are naturally loss-averse, meaning they fear losing something more than they desire gaining something of equal value. If you frame your offer in a way that highlights potential losses, people are more likely to comply. For example, instead of saying, "If you accept this deal, you'll save $10,000, say, "If we don't move forward, you'll lose $10,000 in potential savings." The fear of losing money is a stronger motivator than the promise of gaining it. The power of deadlines. Deadlines create urgency, but they must feel real to be effective. Voss warns against using arbitrary deadlines, as they can backfire. Instead, use deadlines that make logical sense to the other party. Example: "We're closing out this quarter's deals by Friday, and I want to make sure we get you in before the pricing adjusts." When framed correctly, deadlines nudge the other person toward making a decision without making them feel pressured. Anchoring with an extreme first offer. One of the oldest negotiation tricks is anchoring, starting with a high or low offer to set the reference point. But Voss takes this further by anchoring emotionally as well. For example, if you're negotiating a salary, instead of saying, "I was expecting $100,000, say, "People with my experience in this industry typically make between $110,000 and $120,000. Given my background, I was expecting something in that range." This shifts their reference point and makes $100,000 seem reasonable. Using the illusion of control. People don't like to be told what to do, but they love feeling in charge. Instead of making demands, ask calibrated questions that force the other person to solve the problem for you. Example: instead of saying, "I need a better price," ask, "How am I supposed to justify this price to my boss?" This makes the other party feel like they are in control while actually working within your frame. Chapter 7. Create the illusion of control. In negotiations, people resist being told what to do, but they love feeling in charge. This is why Voss introduces the concept of the illusion of control, a method that lets the other party feel like they are leading the discussion while you are actually steering it. The key to this strategy? Calibrated questions. These are open-ended questions that start with how or what, forcing the other party to think and respond constructively. Instead of making demands or arguing, you use these questions to gently guide the conversation in your favor. For example, instead of saying, "I need a better price," ask, "How am I supposed to justify this price to my team?" This shifts the burden onto the other party to come up with a solution. Why this works? It makes the other person feel in control, even though you're leading them. It encourages collaboration rather than confrontation. It avoids triggering defensive reactions. Voss shares a story about negotiating with kidnappers. Instead of making direct demands, he asked, "What happens if we can't meet your demands?" This forced the criminals to think beyond their immediate demands and engage in problem-solving, giving the FBI valuable time to maneuver. Key strategies to use the illusion of control. 1. Ask how and what questions to lead the conversation without making demands. 2. Never ask why questions. They can make the other party defensive. 3. Use intentional pauses to let the other person fill in the silence, often revealing critical information. Chapter 8. Guarantee execution. A deal is worthless unless it gets executed. Many negotiations fall apart after an agreement is reached because there is no clear path forward. Voss emphasizes that a negotiation is not over when both parties say yes. It's over when the agreement is successfully implemented. To ensure follow-through, he introduces the rule of 3, getting the other person to confirm the agreement 3 times in different ways. This increases commitment and reduces the chances of backtracking. For example, 1. First confirmation. Does this plan work for you? 2. Second confirmation. Just to make sure we're on the same page. How do you see this playing out? 3. Third confirmation. What challenges do you see in implementing this? By getting multiple confirmations, you solidify their commitment and uncover any hidden objections that might arise later. The importance of the right tone. Another critical aspect of ensuring execution is using a late-night FM DJ voice, a calm, slow, and confident tone. This makes you sound authoritative and reassures the other party, reducing resistance and increasing cooperation. Key strategies to guarantee execution. 1. Use the rule of 3. Get 3 confirmations to lock in commitment. 2. Ask implementation questions like, how do we make this work? Or what obstacles might arise? 3. Use a calm, reassuring tone to make the agreement feel like a natural step forward. Chapter 9. Bargain hard. When it comes to bargaining, most people assume that being aggressive or making big demands is the key to success. Voss disagrees. Instead, he introduces the Ackerman model, a step-by-step bargaining strategy that allows you to make counteroffers strategically while keeping the other party engaged. The Ackerman model. 1. Set your target price. Know exactly what you want before you start negotiating. 2. Start with 65% of your target price. This gives you room to negotiate. 3. Make small, calculated increases, 85%, 95%, then 100%, each one getting smaller. 4. Use empathy and calibrated questions to justify your offers. 5. Throw in a non-monetary bonus to seal the deal, something that costs you little but is valuable to the other party. Example: if you want to negotiate a car down from $20,000 to $15,000, you would offer $9,750, 65%. Gradually increase to $12,750, 85%, then $14,250, 95%, before finally reaching $15,000, 100%. Throughout, you'd use calibrated questions like, how am I supposed to justify this price, to push the seller to engage. Chapter 10. Find the Black Swan. The final and most advanced concept in negotiation is the Black Swan theory. The idea that every negotiation has unknown factors that can change the entire dynamic. Your job is to uncover these hidden pieces of information and use them to shift the power balance. Black swans are game-changing insights, personal motivations, hidden fears, or external pressures the other party is facing. Most people negotiate based on what's obvious, but the best negotiators dig deeper to uncover the unseen. How to find black swans. 1. Observe body language and tone. If something feels off, dig deeper. 2. Ask calibrated questions. What else is important to you in this deal? 3. Look for personal motivations. People often have hidden reasons that influence their decisions. Real-world example. Voss shares a story of a hostage negotiation where kidnappers initially demanded money. But through careful questioning, he discovered their true fear. They didn't trust the police and were scared of being double-crossed. Once this black swan was uncovered, Voss shifted the conversation away from money and focused on providing them with assurances, leading to a peaceful resolution. Business application. Suppose you're negotiating a contract and the other party seems hesitant. Business application. Suppose you're negotiating a contract and the other party seems hesitant. Instead of pushing harder, ask, what's your biggest concern about this deal? You might uncover a hidden issue. Perhaps they have budget constraints or internal pressure that you can use to create a better solution. Key takeaways. Every negotiation has unknown factors. Find them and use them. Black swans can shift the entire dynamic in your favor. Pay attention to emotions, motivations, and hidden fears. Negotiation isn't just for hostage situations. It's a part of everyday life. Whether you're closing a deal, resolving a conflict, or even negotiating with your spouse, these techniques give you the upper hand. Final thought. Everything in life is a negotiation. Learn to master it, and you'll never split the difference again. If you found these negotiation tips valuable, hit that like button, subscribe for more game-changing insights, and let me know in the comments. What's the toughest negotiation you've ever faced? Until next time, keep negotiating like your life depends on it.